Prologue. My calendar is full of dead people. When my phone alarm chimes, I fish it out from the pocket of my cargo pants. I've forgotten, with the time change, to turn off the reminder. I'm still groggy with sleep, but I open the date and read the names. Iris Vale, Un An Kim, Alan Rosenfeld, Marlon Jensen. I close my eyes and do what I do every day at this moment. I remember them. Iris, who had died tiny and bird-like, had once driven a getaway car for a man she loved who'd robbed a bank. Un-A, who had been a doctor in Korea but couldn't practice in the United States. Alan had proudly showed me the urn he bought for his cremated remains and then joked, "I haven't tried it on yet." Marlon had changed out all the toilets in his house and put in new flooring and cleaned the gutters. He bought graduation gifts for his 2 children and hid them away. He took his 12-year-old daughter to a hotel ballroom and waltzed with her while I filmed it on his phone, so the day she got married, there'd be video of her dancing with her father. At one point, they were my clients. Now they're my stories to keep. Everyone in my row is asleep. I slip my phone back into my pocket and carefully crawl over the woman to my right without disturbing her, air traveler's yoga, to make my way to the bathroom in the rear of the plane. There I blow my nose and look in the mirror. I'm at the age where that's a surprise, where I still think I'm going to see a younger woman than the one who blinks back at me. Lines fan from the corners of my eyes like the creases of a familiar map. If I untangle the braid that lies over my left shoulder, these terrible fluorescent lights would pick up those first gray strands in my hair. I'm wearing loose pants with an elastic waist like every other sensible, nearly 40 woman who knows she's going to be on a plane for a long-haul flight. I grab a handful of tissues and open the door, intent on heading back to my seat, but the little galley area is packed with flight attendants. They are knotted together like a frown. They stop talking when I appear. "Ma'am," one of them says, "could you please take your seat?" It strikes me that their job isn't really very different from mine. If you're on a plane, you're not where you started and you're not where you're going. You're caught in between. A flight attendant is the guide who helps you navigate that passage smoothly. As a death doula, I do the same thing, but the journey is from life to death, and at the end, you don't disembark with 200 other travelers. You go alone. I climb back over the sleeping woman in the aisle seat and buckle my seatbelt just as the overhead lights blaze and the cabin comes alive. "Ladies and gentlemen," a voice announces, "we have just been informed by the captain that we're going to have a planned emergency. Please listen to the flight attendants and follow their directions." I am frozen. Planned emergency? The oxymoron sticks in my mind. There's a quick rush of sound. Shock rolls through the cabin, but no screams, no loud cries. Even the baby behind me, who shrieked for the first 2 hours of the flight, is silent. "We're crashing," the woman on the aisle whispers. "Oh my God, we're crashing." She must be wrong. There hasn't even been turbulence. Everything's been normal. But then the flight attendants station themselves in the aisles, performing a strange staccato ballet of safety movements as instructions are read over the speakers. "Fasten your seatbelts. When you hear the word brace, assume the brace position. After the plane comes to a complete stop, you'll hear 'release your seatbelts. Get out. Leave everything behind.'" Leave everything behind. For someone who makes a living through death, I haven't given a lot of thought to my own. I've heard when you're about to die, your life flashes before your eyes. But I do not picture my husband, Brian, his sweater streaked with inevitable chalk dust from the old school blackboards in his physics lab. Or Merritt as a little girl asking me to check for monsters under the bed. I do not envision my mother, not like she was at the end or before that, when Kieran and I were young. Instead, I see him. As clearly as if it were yesterday, I imagine Wyatt in the middle of the Egyptian desert, the sun beating down on his hat, his neck ringed with dirt from the constant wind, his teeth a flash of lightning. A man who hasn't been part of my life for 15 years, a place I left behind, a dissertation I never finished. Ancient Egyptians believed that to get to the afterlife, they had to be deemed innocent in the judgment hall. Their hearts were weighed against the feather of Ma'at, truth. I'm not so sure my heart will pass. The woman to my right is softly praying in Spanish. I fumble for my phone, thinking to turn it on, to send a message, even though I know there's no signal, but I can't seem to open the button on my pants pocket. A hand catches mine and squeezes. I look down at our fists, squeezed so tight a secret couldn't slip between our palms. "Brace!" the flight attendants yell. "Brace!" As we fall out of the sky, I wonder who will remember me.